Gossip is always an issue. When I see in these manuals, we have a no gossip policy, I'm like, oh, your dad taught me. You can't do that because there's this National Labor Relations Board thing and people need to be able to talk about that. And when is gossip working conditions and when is it actionable?
Okay. Yeah, great topic. As you mentioned, there is something called the National Labor Relations Board. They oversee what's called the National Labor Relations Act. The National Labor Relations Act is a very old piece of legislation. It's been around for decades. It goes back to some old union laws and that kind of thing. And it has a section in it. It's called Section 7, and it is called Protected Concerted Activities. And that protected concerted activities has a provision that basically specifically allows employees to discuss their wages, their benefits, and their working conditions
Yeah.
with each other. And over the years, of course, as technology has evolved, that has been expanded to also include discussions on social media, even if they're public. And last year, there was a big decision by the National Labor Relations Board called the Stericycle Decision. And that one had a big fundamental change as well in terms of kind of swinging the pendulum very much in favor of employees and less employer friendly. It struck down what are called civility protections or civility policies. This idea of in your handbook, you have a policy that says employees have to be respectful, employees have to be professional, employees have to be civil. It basically said that if that policy language is very broad and open ended, it is no longer compliant. This was a massive, massive game changer. It shook the foundations of the world of HR. It was a big deal.
This is crazy. How do you not be civil to your clients and your patients and your colleagues? I don't understand that.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly. It is
wow.
truly bizarre. Now, we have seen labor lawyers, judges, other people have come out and said pretty confidently that this does not apply to, in a sense, policies and rules that an employer wants to say. In our case, employees have to be civil and professional with patience.
Okay.
You can still have that in there, and levels of professionalism, certain types of communication, like et cetera, with patience. The part that they are seemingly not okay with is overly broad things that say that employees have to be a certain level of professional and civil and so on with each other.
Wow.
And in some ways, this is not totally new. There was a case a long time ago that went before the National Labor Relations Board. It was a car dealership. There was a guy that was terminated because he went to his manager and was very upset because he didn't get a raise or didn't get a promotion or something. And he was voicing his concerns to his manager in a raised voice. He was swearing a little bit and so on. The manager fired him for being unprofessional. That one went before the National Labor Relations Board and they sided with the employee because the discussion was behind closed doors. No customers were hearing it. And because the topic was wages and working conditions and so on. That was a bit of an extreme case, but this is an expansion of that. Now, the National Labor Relations Board is appointed by the administration that's in power, and we may see a new board in place. We may then see a shift back, with that pendulum shifting back a little bit more. But at least for right now, if folks have that language in their handbooks about being absolutely unequivocally unprofessional and it doesn't say with patience, that in our recommendation is something that should be modified right now. Now, to your point about
Wow.
gossip, in general, one sort of delineation there would be whether the discussion is about wages and working conditions and so on. So if a couple of employees are saying, gosh, I don't feel appreciated, or I don't like working with the associate doctor because he belittles me or treats me like I'm an idiot or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's wages and working conditions. That's not gossip. That is
Yeah.
absolutely protected. If the employees are gossiping about a patient where they're saying, oh, I heard she's on her third divorce. Well, that's obviously not wages and working conditions. It is about a patient, which is sort of
Yeah.
working conditions, but that's clearly a topic that is not about making their patient care better or more effective.
Well, thank God I would have been fired a long time ago. I've definitely had those conversations.
And certainly any sort of discussion about another employee where it's personal,
Okay.
like, oh, I can't believe she's pregnant with her 10th child or something. Oh, that's not
Wow, I
exactly
can't
ways of work.
believe either, but wow.
So those kinds of things, that's where it does kind of cross a line. But the problem is it's basically impossible to list all of that in a policy
Mhm.
in your handbook, because how do you put all of that into words? And so that's why in our standard manuals we don't have a no gossip policy, because it is so hard to do that. Now, we can certainly have language about when you're clocked in, make sure that your discussions are work related, that it's productive, and so on. You can do some of that, but a lot of this, unfortunately, is just case by case.
Would you like to hear more? Follow the link for the full episode.